What's up, fam? Look, point of what I'm talking about today is growing frustration with not only what Stephen A has been saying, but also the way that he's been doubling down on a lot of things that have been proven factually wrong. And I feel like there's a danger he's kind of going down the road of becoming sort of like a black Tucker Carlson. And what I mean by that is, look, Stephen A. Smith is one of the greatest journalists out there in the realm of sports, and even on issues relating to race in sports. You know, there's a great opinion, perspective, been doing it for over a decade or 30 years, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, if Stephen A. Smith is not going to apply the same level of journalistic integrity that he applies to sports, if he's not going to apply that to his political analyses, then he should stick to sports. I am never the person to say that someone should stay in their lane, but they should stay in their lane if they're not willing to do the work to step into another lane. And that's what we're seeing with Stephen A. Smith. When it comes to areas relating to politics, similar to Charlemagne, he spews out facts that are not accurate. And then when he's challenged on those, like a Tucker Carlson type, like a former President Trump type, he doubles down on the misinformation. And when you double down and just say, well, it's my opinion and I'm Stephen A. and I can say whatever, you can indeed say whatever you want, but you're factually wrong. And many people have attempted to correct him, most recently Roland Martin, who did not just try to diss him or anything, laid out facts. For example, Stephen A. Smith has been engaging in a lot of whataboutism. What about John Edwards? What about this or that? And, it was brought up that, John Edwards was actually prosecuted during the Obama administration. He talks about the fact that Trump is basically being put up on charges of nothing, but Trump's own former attorney, Michael Cohen, got put up on those same charges. So what are we doing here? We go down the list. We can talk about Clinton, so on and so forth. And then, when Stephen A. Smith started to double down after Roland Martin's segment, he starts saying other ignorant and disrespectful things towards other communities that aren't directly involved in this particular issue as it relates to backlash to his comments. And this is that Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Trump mentality. So Stephen A. Smith starts going into, oh my gosh, we're talking all of this stuff about LGBTQ stuff, and we're talking about trans people now, and they're 1% of the population, and and black people, y'all willing to just let your issues go because of that, bro. There are black LGBTQ people as well. There are black trans people as well. That's not just a white issue. That's something that is an issue in every community. And so when you talk about, they start pitting this us against them, you start going into, the illegal immigrants and the credit cards that they're getting and all of this other type of stuff. Is that happening for black people? There are black people who are here that are not documented. We are not a monolith. We we know that people have painted it as the face of a primarily, story of our Latino family, and of course there are black Latinos as well, but there are people from the African continent, people coming from the West Indies, as well, who are part of that as well. But, Stephen A. Smith keeps wanting to talk about us as we're some type of monolith, but then he also still continues to come out with factual inaccuracies, saying things like, oh, you black, you don't care about these unemployment numbers and figures. Are you serious? Like, in our community, black unemployment has consistently been twice that of white unemployment. So when the numbers come down to historic lows, you don't think we want to talk about that? You're a graduate of an HBCU. You talk about education all the time and your love for HBCUs, and we can't talk about what the Biden administration has been doing for HBCUs more than any other president. And then you have the false narrative that the Biden administration is using these trials because they don't have anything else to campaign against Trump on, as if they're not campaigning. Bro, they're out there campaigning. Again, that's factually inaccurate. And you try to play it as if you were just talking about black supporters of Trump as it relates to the criminal persecution that you use in terms of prosecution. But you double down on your attitude about how some black people may support Trump. And the fact of the matter is, black people who do not look at Trump in the same way we look at others like Malcolm and Malcolm X and Martin, Dr. King and others, and Fannie Lou Hamer. We don't look at him in the same light. This man has tried to start an insurrection. Black folks can't do that. All of the loans he's defaulted on, all of the things that he's done to, can black people hold classified documents and not get arrested, not get called in? Look, you talked about, what about Biden and classified documents? He turned the documents he had over. Didn't even have to be asked to do that, just like Mike Pence did. Turned them back over. So you continually keep talking about this mindset of, well, I'm not voting for Trump and so on and so forth, but you're basically saying, well, Trump is winning, Trump is winning. And speaking of which, want to talk about accuracy, you bring up these polls and you don't name them, right? And these polls may take like 800 people, sample of America, but within that, there's going to be, as Roland talked about, a very small percentage of black people are going to be part of that poll. And then you cite that poll, and then newer polls come out by Reuters and others that show that Trump doesn't have that black support, and you don't correct yourself. That's a problem. What about other black pollsters out there? People like Woodbury and people like Cornell Belcher who have actually been doing the polls and talking to more segments of black people. Bring them in and correct yourself. But like Tucker Carlson, double down, never correct, go into more vitriol. That's not what we need to be doing, Stephen A. That's not what we need to be about. You are an important voice out there in the world of sports, and unfortunately, too many people who book you and the Charlemagnes of the world look at people who are involved in entertainment as our leaders. And like Charlemagne said, he's not a black leader, and neither are you. We get that. But you owe it to yourself. You said that on one of your segments that white people can come to their jobs and just do work. Black people have to come to a job with a responsibility. Bro, if you're going to step out into the field of politics and you have a responsibility to be accurate, and you don't have a responsibility to keep double down on some what I said, this is what I said, black people this, black people that. There are many black people who are looking at what Biden is doing as helpful towards the black community, doing things like bringing down costs of diabetes medication, the HBCU investment that I talked about before, the infrastructure plan. Don't black people need to work on these roads as well? The education plans. I mean, we can go down the list of things. Doesn't mean that Biden is beyond critique. Of course not. We critique him all of the time. I'll raise my hand first. Let's also talk about prison reform. Have you seen Sean Hannity, who you're so proud to be calling your friend, do anything really relating on prison reform? Only brings up this idea of disparities when he's talking about Trump. And then you should have checked him on that. Because the fact of the matter is there's no conversation about these racial disparities on shows like Hannity unless they're talking about building more prisons to put more black people in them. So the fact of the matter is the things that a lot of us are saying to you, Stephen A., it's being said out of love. It's being said, you want it to be accurate. You wanting you to be accurate in everything that you're saying. Stop doubling down on this nonsense. Stop going into these things and so on and so forth. Look, Trump's being brought up on charges in red states. He's being brought up on charges in blue states. The fact of the matter is the man is a liar. The man is a racist. The man does not believe in equality for everyone. He believes in rules for thee, but not for me. And he's being held accountable to that. And the fact of the matter is, some of these charges came late. Some didn't want to bring up charges, but some of these things came late because he was president and DOJ laws, or not laws, but memos saying you can't charge a sitting president. So look, get out there, man. Tell the stories, tell the truth, but do your research. Do your research. Have some fact-based journalism. And when you get corrected, when you get called out on basic facts, admit that you were wrong. Your rant the other night after the pushback, it doesn't make any sense. And some of us are just wondering what the real intentions are and what you're doing. Because, yeah, it's great that you can go on every network, but go on every network, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, go on them with facts. Don't just go up there with your opinion. Where are the polls that you're conducting or that you're involved in? Where are the researchers that you're bringing in? You just don't have enough factual information to be part of this conversation. But these are facts you can easily get. And to all the networks that continue booking you in some way, shape, or form, y'all need to double check your practices as well. Because y'all's continued idea to book some black people involved in entertainment and bring them on to talk about politics and stuff when there's so many other people out there, Karen Hunter, Clay Kane, Roland Martin, the list goes on and on. I mean, come on. What are you doing here? Because really, at the end of the day, you're doing all of us a disservice because you're playing into stereotypes, you're playing into misinformation, and you're also playing into disinformation. And my hope, Stephen A. Smith, is that you don't go down the line of just starting to generate conspiracy theories and putting them out there because you kind of hinted at some things here and there, very Tucker Carlson-esque as well. And then you have this mindset that Carlson uses of, I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. And, your whataboutism in your way towards some places that could be very dangerous. You don't need to ask questions when you can do the research. And the Biden campaign is not prosecuting or persecuting Donald Trump. And to say that the Biden campaign is not actually out campaigning, just this past week was out there campaigning with the Kennedy family, was out there getting more union representation and endorsements. Kamala Harris out there doing work on gun violence and the like. And you're saying that she should have debated Ron DeSantis on his book bans and anti, quote unquote, critical race theory and so-called anti-woke legislation. Why would she do that when she could be out there talking to the people and supporters who are serious? You talk about Gavin Newsom looking like he's a candidate. He's out there challenging these guys in the way that you literally just said Vice President Kamala Harris should. So let's stop with the hypocrisy. Let's just dial it back. Start over. You get corrected, bring out some facts, bring out some truth, and let's just continue to do this work because you are an important voice out there, but a fact-based important voice needs to be had. And you can get out there with all the heart and energy you want, but if you're getting out there with heart and energy and disinformation and misinformation, you're doing more of a disservice than a service. And that's what my concern is. I'm not getting involved in all these conversations about, sell out this and all that other type of stuff. My point is that at the end of the day, if you're going to come hard with facts. If you're not going to come hard with facts, stick to sports. We'll still watch. Peace.